Alright, so let's expose some Etsy myths, because if you're an artist, you either tried Etsy before and you quit, or you've been avoiding it because of what you heard. And I guarantee at least one of these myths is a reason. And the third myth is something that I think is actively making people worse at selling. And just for some background, I've been selling on Etsy for the last 2.5 years, and I've been able to build a multiple six-figure Etsy business. So let's get into it. Myth number one is that you need to drive your own traffic to your Etsy listings. Otherwise, they're going to get buried and no one's ever going to find you. So this one actually drives me crazy because it completely misses the point of why you're on Etsy in the first place. Etsy is an organic search platform, which means that there's over 90 million active buyers who are searching for things to buy. And the entire reason you're there is because the traffic already exists. So if you're the one driving all the traffic in the first place through like Instagram or TikTok, you need to ask yourself a serious question. Why are you even on Etsy? Because if you're bringing all the buyers yourself, then you might as well start a Shopify store. And then that way you can skip the 6% transaction fees and pass those savings to your buyers. And you also get to keep more of every sale. Driving traffic is literally the hardest job of any business. And that's the whole reason that these platforms with built-in buyers exist. So if you're treating Etsy as like a Shopify store that you have to drive your own audience to, then you're playing the wrong game on the wrong platform, and you're just paying fees for no reason. Myth number two that I hear all the time is that only the biggest sellers win on Etsy and everyone else is going to get buried. And I get why people believe this, because I'm sure if you tried Etsy yourself for a month or two, or you know someone who tried it and told you it doesn't work, I can almost guarantee you that it was because they gave up too early and they didn't set up their listings correctly. And I'm going to say this with love because your brain is trained on instant results, right? And let's just say that you post something on TikTok, you're going to get views within an hour. But when you put up a listing on Etsy, usually nothing's going to happen. And then you're going to think the platform is broken. But that's not how this works. So if you're someone who started on Etsy, you put up like 10 listings, none of them sold, and then you quit. It's like you're playing Zelda, you landed on the tutorial island, you couldn't figure out the first quest, and then you logged off. The game hasn't even started yet. For me, it took me 4 months of constant testing and iterating to get my first sale. And here's the thing that most people miss. Etsy rewards listings, not shops. That means a brand new seller with one good listing can outperform a shop that's been there for years. And if you want proof for this, just go look at any top seller with hundreds of thousands of sales. And if you click into their shop, you're going to notice that most of their listings have 0 sales. And if you're an Etsy business, I'm sure you feel this too. Your entire business is carried by 1 or 2 of your hero listings. And that's how Etsy works. You test, you iterate, you find the listings that hit, and then you double down on it. Most people quit because they never found their hero listing, and then they blame the platform. And now moving on to myth number 3, which is that you need tools like eRank or Everbee to succeed on Etsy. And this one I feel really strongly about because I've been selling on Etsy for the last 2.5 years. And I'm one of the top sellers in my niche, if not the top seller. And I personally think that these tools are a waste of your time. And here's why. If you go on YouTube right now and you look up Etsy tutorials, literally every other YouTube video is going to tell you to use these for keyword research. And I've tried a free trial of them a long time ago. And what these plugins show you is basically how many searches certain terms get. It sounds useful, but from my experience, the data is very incomplete. I noticed that my own listings that were performing well don't even show up on these tools. And I think the reason for that is because these apps are actually pulling the data from their own users and their browsing behavior instead of scraping Etsy in its entirety. And that makes sense, right? Because